What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a different style video from my side. Today I want to tell you the story of the 718 Cayman and Boxster generation. We'll talk about how those cars came to be, where they got their name, what supercar was sacrificed in order for these generations to exist, and finally, of course, we're going to talk about the future of the mid-engine Porsche. In 2013, the 981 generation of the Cayman and Boxsters was released to the public. The base car featured a flat 6 2.7 liter engine in the middle, while the S variant had a 3.4 engine. Power figures were around 265 horsepower for the base and 315 and 320 for the S. Now, unfortunately, that didn't last very long because in 2016 Porsche had to switch things around because of the emission regulations. In that year, the 718 Caymans and Boxsters came to be. And although they didn't really look that different to the previous 981 generation, they caused a huge amount of controversy. And that's because instead of the amazing flat 6 engines, Porsche fitted them with flat 4 turbocharged engines. So basically the double whammy, turbocharging and downsizing at the same time. The base cars got a 2-liter engine in the middle, producing 300 horsepower, while the S variant and the GTS got a 2.5 liter capable of producing 350 for the S and 365 for the GTS. Now, if you know your Porsche history, you kind of know already that the 718 is a name that dates back to the 50s and 60s, where Porsche had a race car that, you've guessed it, had a flat 4 engine sitting in the middle. So you could say that Porsche kind of tried to temper down the backlash they knew they would receive by invoking some heritage, but boy oh boy, that didn't work at all. I mean, fans, Porsche purists, the media, everybody came down on Porsche because of those engines. Now, me personally, I didn't like when I heard the news at first, but after I drove a couple of 718 variants, I was like, this car is very good. Yes, of course, the engine could never live up to those flat 6s in the past, but the mid-engine Porsche is still a very good car. The 718s felt fast, they felt agile, they were fun to drive, they handled very well, and yeah. But here's where things get interesting, because those engines weren't really supposed to be flat 4s to begin with. Thanks to Marcos Marquez, which is the head of e-fuels at Porsche, we now know that the initial idea was supposed to be a mid-engine Porsche based on the Cayman chassis that featured a 5-liter flat 8 engine sitting in the middle that could produce, get this, 750 horsepower and 1000 Newton meters of torque. Not only that, but supposedly the red line was around 9,000 RPM and the engine was mated to a manual transmission. And the best bit is that Porsche actually had that car running and they tested it for about a year before they pulled the plug on that project. Now, Marquez says that's only a part of the story, because that engine was supposed to go in a car that was going to replace the 981 and be kind of a successor to the Carrera GT. So just imagine that for a second. In 2025, when it was supposed to be launched, a mid-engine 750 horsepower flat 8 engine with a 9,000 RPM redline and the manual transmission. That would have been absolutely insane. But that's not the end of the 718 saga, because after Porsche released the superb GT4 and Spider Caymans, they got everyone back on their side, because those cars were fitted with 4-liter naturally aspirated flat 6 engines. They weren't the GT3 engines, although they had the same capacity. They were 992 Carrera engines, stripped of the turbo, and with the capacity enlarged from 3 liters to 4. But still, those were amazing cars. And since Porsche saw how successful and how praised those cars were, they took everybody by surprise and replaced the old GTS Cayman and Boxster with a GTS 4.0. And yes, you've guessed it correctly, those cars had the same 4-liter engine sitting in the middle. So after all of that drama, the flat 6 engine, a naturally aspirated one, has finally found its place again in a Cayman and Boxster, a regular one, not a GT car. Fans and the media praised Porsche endlessly. I was lucky enough to drive both the Cayman and the Boxster, and they are absolutely spectacular. So that's where the story ends. But you'd be wrong if you actually think that, because Porsche was secretly working behind the scenes on the biggest what-if question Porsche fanatics had for years. What if we actually got a GT3 engine stuck in the middle of a Cayman? Well, today I'm driving that exact car. Meet the GT4 RS. It features the same engine as the 992 GT3. It revs all the way to 9,000 RPM, and sitting right next to my eardrums is an acoustically tuned airbox that makes all the right noises. Listen to this. Scratch that. It is the best sounding car I've ever driven or ever sat in. I've been lucky enough to be driven in V12 Ferraris, Lambos and the like, but nothing comes close to what this engine can do between 8 and 9,000 RPM in the Cayman RS. It's absolutely amazing. There's also a Spider RS that was launched a couple of months ago, which I suspect is going to be even more exciting than the GT4 RS. But after that, I'm afraid to tell you that the mid-engine Porsche with a combustion engine will be gone forever, because the next generation Cayman Boxster is going to be full electric, and Porsche is doing that to protect its flagship from going electric, which is the 911, as we all know. So something had to be sacrificed, and unfortunately it's the Caymans and the Boxsters. So go out and buy these cars while you still can. It doesn't matter if it's a flat 4, if it's a flat 6, if it's a manual or a PDK. They are the best sports car on the market right now, and you won't go wrong with any model you choose. These are proper sports cars built by people like us, car fanatics that love driving. But that's been it for today's video, my friends. I really hope you've enjoyed it. It's kind of a different type of video for my channel. Please give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you're subscribed for plenty more videos to come.